Welcome to one of the most dramatic and lesser-known stories in the Bible, the Holy War between Asa, the great-grandson of the legendary King Solomon, and Zerah, the enigmatic and powerful Ethiopian king. It's a story that few know in detail, but one that reveals much about courage, faith, and the impact of God-centered leadership. Stay with me until the end of this video, and I promise you won't regret it. Welcome to the Read and Praise channel. Before we dive into the events of this monumental battle, I ask that you leave a like, subscribe to the channel to ensure you don't miss other detailed biblical videos like this one, and share it so that more people can discover this story. We'll add links in the cards and at the end for other related content covering iconic moments from the lives of the kings of Israel and Judah. Imagine yourself in that ancient time when a clash between armies could change the course of an entire nation. This is the story of a king who, with only a handful of soldiers, faced the most powerful army the region had ever seen. The kingdom of Judah in Asa's time, unity and spiritual fragmentation. To understand the extent of the challenge Asa faced, it's essential to know the reality of Judah in those days. After Solomon's death, the kingdom that David and Solomon had united began to divide. The split between Israel in the north and Judah in the south was marked by political and religious rivalries. Judah was experiencing moral decline, a result of years under rulers who led the people astray with idolatry, causing them to drift away from God. Altars to foreign gods like Baal and Asherah were everywhere. When Asa took the throne, he recognized that idolatry was a significant internal enemy. He then launched a great religious reform, removing idols, banning pagan worship, and even deposing his grandmother from the position of Queen Mother for maintaining idolatrous altars. Asa led Judah back to the worship of the God of Israel. His zeal awakened a spirit of renewal and reverence among the people. This reform was a political risk, challenging traditions that had taken root in the kingdom. But Asa believed the strength of his nation lay in its faithfulness to God, and no earthly army could match the Lord of hosts. Judah was spiritually restored and united, but even with this new inner strength, nothing could prepare them for the imminent threat of one of the largest armies ever recorded in the Bible. The rise of Zerah and his overwhelming army. Enter the mysterious King Zerah of Ethiopia, also known as Zerah, whose army was a force of 1,000,000 soldiers and 300 chariots. In the ancient Near East, possessing such a vast army was rare. Some scholars even speculate that the 1,000,000 might be an exaggeration to convey the overwhelming impact the Ethiopian army's numbers had on the people of Judah. However, even if the number was lower, Zerah's power was staggering. Zerah's identity is a mystery. Some theologians believe he led a coalition of tribes from Nubia and northeastern Africa, and his motivation was territorial expansion. Others suggest that Zerah might have been driven by religious rivalry, a kind of challenge to the God of Israel. It was not uncommon for kings to try to prove the superiority of their gods by defeating smaller kingdoms. What remains unknown about Zerah makes the story even more intriguing. He represents a threat that came not only with immense physical power, but also as a spiritual challenge. By invading Judah, Zerah possibly sought to eliminate the religious power of the God of Israel, who was widely known and feared throughout the region. Asa's spiritual strategy, the great prayer of dependence. Faced with an impossible challenge, Asa resorted to one of the most powerful weapons a king could wield: prayer. He knew that his army, however well-trained, could never compete with Zerah's vast forces. So Asa offered a profound prayer, his words an act of humility and total dependence. "Lord, there is no one besides you to help the mighty and the weak. Help us, O Lord our God, for we rely on you, and in your name we have come against this multitude." This prayer is remarkable because it reveals a leader who acknowledged his limitations and entrusted himself entirely to God. Asa didn't ask for Zerah's immediate destruction, but for God's help, transforming the battle into a spiritual struggle. For Asa, the true leader of Judah's army, was God. Asa's confidence in God inspired his people, who, seeing their king kneel, realized he was not just a military strategist, but also a spiritual shepherd. This act of faith marked a turning point. In times of despair, he teaches us that surrendering to God is the best strategy, a lesson that resonates to this day. Divine intervention and the supernatural defeat of Zerah's army. God heard Asa's prayer and intervened supernaturally. The Bible mentions that the Lord defeated the Ethiopian army, but leaves the details of this victory shrouded in mystery. Some scholars suggest that Zerah's army may have been struck by a plague, a devastating weather event, or even internal confusion leading to disorder and retreat. Regardless of the method, an apparently invincible enemy force was destroyed. This supernatural intervention was a clear sign that the God of Israel not only protected his people, but also could accomplish the impossible. The battle ended in total victory, and Judah's soldiers reaped great spoils. The Ethiopian army was shattered, and Asa and his people returned to Jerusalem with riches and supplies, further strengthening Judah. This victory inspired surrounding nations to fear the God of Judah. Asa's reputation as a king who trusted in God outweighed the military might of his opponents. Thus, Asa's victory was more than a territorial gain. It was a demonstration of spiritual power and divine faithfulness. Asa's covenant of faithfulness with the people of Judah. After this overwhelming victory, Asa saw the perfect opportunity to solidify his people's spiritual fervor. He gathered everyone in Jerusalem and established a great covenant with the people, renewing their allegiance to God. The nation pledged faithfulness to the Lord, and this collective commitment marked a spiritual revival. Asa went beyond simple external reforms. He sought to cultivate a deep love and commitment to God in every heart in Judah. This covenant also ensured that future generations would remember that Judah's true strength lay in its covenant with God. The victory over Zerah became a lasting testimony of what is possible when a nation places itself under God's protection, an example that resonated with neighboring kingdoms and future generations. Mysteries and curiosities about Asa, Zerah, and the spiritual significance. The story of the war between Asa and Zerah continues to intrigue scholars today, and several questions remain unanswered. Why did God allow such a large army to threaten Judah? Was it a test of faith for Asa and his people, or an opportunity for Judah to stand out as a nation devoted to the Lord? Another curiosity is the lack of details about Zerah's life after his defeat. He vanishes from biblical narratives, as if his only purpose was to serve as an example of the greatness of Israel's God. The details of this story reinforce the idea that God, even in moments of extreme danger, is present and willing to intervene for his people. The battle with Zerah was not merely a territorial war. It held deep spiritual significance, showing that a nation's true power lies in its faith and obedience to God. Current lessons from Asa's unshakable faith. Asa's victory over Zerah's army is much more than an epic battle story. It's a testament to how faith and obedience to God can transform any challenge. Asa's decision to kneel and seek divine help, rather than relying on human strength or military strategies, teaches us a profound and timeless truth. When faced with the impossible, our strength lies in God, not in the circumstances surrounding us. In our daily lives, we also face armies that seem unbeatable, whether it's a tough financial situation, a devastating health issue, or an emotional challenge that feels beyond our strength. Often, like Asa, we may be tempted to seek quick solutions or rely on our own abilities to tackle these problems. However, Asa reminds us that true security and lasting victory come when we place our trust and challenges in God's hands, even when the results are not yet visible. The battle between Asa and Zerah highlights the importance of intentionally cultivating our faith and strengthening our relationship with God before battles arise. Asa reformed Judah, bringing his people back to worshiping the Lord, and this spiritual renewal paved the way for God's intervention in the battle. When we nurture our spirituality and align our hearts with God during peaceful times, we are far better prepared to face trials when they come. Moreover, this story challenges us to examine the alliances in our own lives. Just as Asa chose to rely solely on God rather than turn to political alliances, we too are encouraged to evaluate the influences and dependencies around us. Are we relying on our strength or external resources to handle our problems? Are we turning to temporary fixes that distance us from God? Or are we seeking a solid and faithful alliance with Him, the source of all power? Finally, Asa and Zerah's story shows us that faithfulness and devotion to God can turn a desperate situation into an opportunity for testimony. Asa returned to Judah with wealth and honor, but more importantly, he returned with the assurance that God was the true protector of his people. This testimony spread to other nations, inspiring reverence and respect for the God of Israel, demonstrating that divine power surpasses any earthly strength. This same testimony still resonates today, reminding us that our God is capable of the impossible when we place ourselves under His protection and seek His guidance. May this story inspire you to face your own challenges with unshakable faith and trust in God. May you seek His presence not only in times of crisis but each day, strengthening your spirit and renewing your confidence. At the end of this video, I encourage you to leave a comment. What impacted you the most in this story? Share your thoughts and help us spread this message so others may also find strength in faith. And if you haven't subscribed yet, join our channel for more videos that delve deep into biblical accounts. Until next time, may God bless your journey.